Hello, everyone. I am Rebecca Mercado, the show director for the Buyers Market of American Craft. Welcome to our first new exhibitor training webinar today. Um, Also with me today is Stacy Simbram, who is an exhibitor, a longtime exhibitor with the show. And she is a mixed media artist. Her business is called Angels with Attitude. So, welcome, Stacy.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, so today's session will be about an hour long. I'm going to go over the setup rules and what to look for in your exhibitor service kit and some lighting tips. Stacy will go over overall design and the look of your booth, how that relates to your business, and tying that in with your branding. And then also her suggestions as a seasoned artist and exhibitor that she needs essentially, what's in her show survival kit or her toolkit. You guys, as new exhibitors, you are making a very important investment in your business to take it to the next level and enter the wholesale marketplace. And we know that does not come inexpensively to many people. And if it's your first trade show, many people will be shocked at I'm paying all this money and I get an empty space. Uh, it is the value of exhibiting face to face and putting your work in front of people who are ready to purchase, that are specifically coming to you from all over the country, specifically coming to where you're located at that show, ready to purchase. That is what is so valuable. The reason your space is bare, it's pretty much just pipe and drape. When you get there, it'll be very naked. For the most part, that is so that each artist can customize that space to their purpose. If we included all these things with it, um, everybody would change it anyway. So you get basic gray drape. It's 8 feet high on three sides, unless you have a corner, and then it's two, of course. It does not have a frame around the top. So depending on how you're lighting your booth, you will need to go grab extra crossbars at they're in bins along the floor. Usually, if you look around, you'll see large columns in the center of the hall. Every other column is usually where those are located. And if you have questions, you can always go to the exhibitor service desk where Hargrove, our service contractor and decorator, is located to pick up crossbars. Very important, those crossbars are available on a first come, first serve basis. So we almost never run out. There's thousands of them in 10 feet and 15 expandable length versions. But you do want to, as soon as you bring your stuff in, put your stuff down, go grab your crossbars, and then you can be comforted that that's taken care of, and then you can start setting up. Your booth also includes a company sign. It's just a plain white long sign that's hung at the top of your drape. Please don't use that as your only identification. Please have, a branded logo, punchy sign or banner, something that lets people recognize who you are. The white sign is there just for basic identification purposes only. And I'm so, so sad to see when exhibitors take that down because they think it's too basic or tacky or whatever. But even if you have a beautiful banner that you've designed, the important part is to take the booth number and cut it out of the white sign, because if you don't have a booth number, people may not find you at all. They might walk right past you. It sounds so easy. You're in the 800 aisle, you're booth 810. The person next to you is booth 811 or 812. But you forget that, because if someone's walking down, the chances, you just don't want to make it any harder than you have to for them to find you. So the booth number is the most important part, but it also includes where you're from and your company name. Your booth does include one chair. It is to be used inside your booth. You can't have it out in the aisle because it's a hazard, and it's just unfair to other exhibitors around you. It can be disturbing, um, or a disturbance. And uh, many people will use it to clamber up and try and hang things if they don't have a little ladder, a step ladder. Um, I'll look the other way if you do that. Technically, you're not supposed to, but I know that not everybody has one, and it's we're all a very do-it-yourself kind of group. So you got to make do what you got to do. And I should mention that materials that you can't bring with you, like a dust buster, vacuuming. If you have a rug, and a lot of people don't think that they have access to a vacuum, it's like the last thing they think about. If you look down the aisle, you'll see many people who bring a little vacuum or a hand vac or a step ladder, and most people are more than willing to let you borrow it. So if you forgot something, just look up and down the aisle and say, "Hey, can I just use this for a second? I'll bring it right back." You'll find people are very helpful that way. Your booth package also includes drayage material handling, but only if you ship with our decorator, who is also our freight provider. If you use a third party, that's fine, and I fully encourage you to price shop because the prices are very different from place to place. So look at UPS, look at FedEx, there are many small freight logistics companies like Art in Motion is one that some of our exhibitors use. And it pays to shop around. And you can call Hargrove as well to get a quote based on your location. If you know someone who is located near you on the floor, you can also partner up with them and drive, and they're located near you geographically. Some people will save money by shipping together, and then they'll just go over to that person's booth and grab their materials and walk them over. Your booth includes 2 empty storage boxes, or I'm sorry, the storage of 2 boxes. You can nest your empties inside those. So you can have 50 boxes hidden in there, but as long as Hargrove is picking up just 2 boxes itself, then you're good to go. Extras, you have to get extra empty box labels from Hargrove, and they will charge you for the storage of those. Storage can take quite a lot of time to get out at the end of the show. Because people finish setting up at random times, the boxes are taken away into storage at random times, and that means they come out of storage randomly. So it can take a half an hour, and it can take up to 3.5 hours or 4 hours. So make sure you make your travel plans accordingly. Don't think that if you're storing anything, don't think you can just catch a plane at 2 hours later. It's just ready for disaster if you do that. I hope that all of our new exhibitors took advantage of the free promotional brochures and stickers. Those would have been requested with your contract and then mailed with your confirmation. We have a couple brochures left, I believe, or stickers, but most of them are gone. You can always do your own. These are just ones that we design and provide for you if you choose to use them. The stickers are great to hang on to too. In future years, just keep in mind, some people ask for quite a lot of them, 500 or more, and they'll hang on to them and use them throughout the year just as a reminder when they're fulfilling orders or sending follow-up catalogs to people that, just, hey, a reminder, I exhibit at the buyer's market. You can see me there next year. Of course, you also get a listing in the printed show guide. And this year we have a new benefit to exhibitors, which is the e-booth listing through our online floor plan. If you haven't had a chance to take a look at that, please do. Your printed show guide listing comes from the e-booth listing. So you have to log in at least once and enter your basic information uh, in order to have your company description in the guide. We already populate your contact info and your booth number and your company name, but you have so much more potential in there to include a bio. You can list your product categories, and if we have time at the end, I'll take you on a quick walkthrough through that. All right, there are a couple things that aren't included with your booth. As I mentioned, it's for customization, so you can take your bare bones booth and build onto it. Flooring is something that is required. You don't have to get it through us, though, through Hargrove. You can certainly bring your own carpet. Many exhibitors choose to use modular flooring, which are like little 2-foot squares of carpet tiles, or they'll paint canvas, or they'll just roll up a rug from IKEA and take that. But your entire booth does need to be covered. Um, that's very important. It's both for your own comfort, but it's also for the improving the overall look of the show. It just makes everything look professional. The floor itself in the convention center is quite bland and gray, and it might be covered with paint and oil spills or whatever, from years of exhibits in there. It's not attractive. So you definitely want to have something that is both functional and pretty. Shipping is not included, so you have to arrange for getting your stuff there. I would say probably 40% of our exhibitors drive their materials there and unload at the dock. You will get a load in pass a couple weeks before the show with your badges. As long as you've registered for your badges in time, they'll be mailed in advance. And you just drive up with your car. You have about 30-40 minutes to unload, and then you have to move your car to the parking garages. As we mentioned, drayage and material is not included unless you ship with Hargrove. Drayage and material handling is basically the labor it takes to get your stuff from the loading dock to your booth, and then at the end of the show, from your booth to the loading dock again. So whether it's being picked up by UPS or if you mail it there or whatever, it's the organization of all the exhibitor's stuff if you're not physically bringing it yourself. If you don't want to use the loading dock with your own vehicle or a POV, personally operated vehicle, you can hand carry if you just have a couple little things. Many exhibitors will sort of route around all this business by, shipping a little tiny box to the business center in the convention center, or even to their hotel if they're traveling really light. Like jewelers will do this too because they take most of their product in their suitcase, and then ship a box with business cards and flyers and things like that. Electric is very important. Every single exhibitor needs electric, whether you're using it or not, and I certainly hope you do, because lighting is life and death of doing the show. You have to light your work. So the minimum wattage is 1,000 watts. That should be more than enough for anybody in a 10 by 10, certainly a 5 by 8. If you are much bigger than that, you might need more. We usually recommend about 1 light per linear square foot. Your display materials are not included, so we want you to customize your space as much as possible. And then lights and bulbs and hardware are not included as well. We mentioned flooring. You definitely do need to cover your floor. Not only is it for the improved look of the show overall and your booth, but it's also an ergonomic thing. You do not want to stand on hard concrete floor for 8-10 hours a day and then go home. It will kill your back. It's just very uncomfortable. And especially in a booth, you should be standing and look approachable. You don't want to sit. Obviously take breaks when you need to, but um, some artists will even have a little ergonomic mat where they're standing just to relieve the pressure. But cushy carpet can be even a way to lure buyers into your booth. Some people will they'll order carpet and the extra cushy padding underneath from the decorator, and as soon as exhibitors see that, it's like they want to walk right and just hang around in your booth because it's so luxurious compared to the hard convention center floor. The longer they stay in your booth, of course, the more they buy. That's that's the general idea. The exhibitor kit has a lot of paperwork in it. You probably don't need most of it, but you should look over everything. That is available online at AmericanMadeShow.com. There's a section of the site called Exhibitor Resource Center, and you would have received an email from Hargrove directly as well, prompting you to download. It includes all of the general rules and regulations, The rentals, if you need a display or a jewelry case or hard walls, they'll build hard walls for you. They'll do pretty much anything you want, but obviously you should consider your budget, and weigh the difference, the benefits of, you know, buying it yourself, shipping it all the way there and back. If you're in California, certain things are going to be, you know, more convenient or cost effective for you in the long run than ordering or shipping. What is it worth to you? You know, to save you a headache of that. Shipping and drayage forms. The recap order form is just a summary of everything that you want from the decorator. The electricity form has to be, as I said, has to be turned in by everyone. Um, and then the credit card authorization. They need that on file in order to, before you start the show. We talked about getting your stuff there. You have a lot of options. You can use various carriers, but we definitely suggest that you shop around. There are caravans that Hargrove will run from and to other trade shows that many of our exhibitors do. New York Gift is one. American Craft Council, ACC, in Baltimore is another. Acre in Orlando is another. And you should also look, if you're not using caravans or going to those shows, make sure you look at the difference between sending your stuff in advance to Hargrove's warehouse versus shipping direct to the convention center. And when I say direct to the convention center, you're not shipping to, it's not the convention center that is claiming and is responsible for your stuff. So you cannot send it early. It has to be within a certain window when Hargrove is there to take responsibility for your things. If you ship to the convention center before the window that you're supposed to, it'll just get turned away and sent back. And in that time, you might have arrived at the show and your things are en route back to your house. So you definitely want to read everything clearly about when things arrive. And you can hand carry. You can also valet if you're worried about lifting materials or getting everything in yourself. You can hire labor to unload things from your car for you. So that's available if you want to hire that service. Oh, I should mention that dollies are not available for use. So you do need to bring your own fold up dolly, or some people have the large commercial dollies, but they're not available to rent or use. You have to borrow one or bring your own. Borrow one from an exhibitor. Rules during setup and breakdown. Some important ones are no power tools. Your booth should be able to be constructed with hand tools or just using your hands. No saws, no electric drills. You should really be able to do it all by hand. And that's a mandate of the unions and the facility itself. It's something we don't have control over, but it's to your benefit as well, because the easier your booth is to assemble, just the less time and less hassle you'll have when you're there. So you want to think ahead about what will save you the most money and time in the long run with a booth. A lightweight, smartly designed booth is worth every penny. We do not allow kids on the floor during show hours. Attendees have to be 12 or older, and during setup, they have to be 16 or older. So if you have a teenager who is assisting you in your booth for setup, then they have to be 16 or older. That's just for safety issues. There's forklifts and things moving around, and you know it's pretty chaotic on the floor, and it's not a safe place for children to be. Every exhibitor should get insurance. This is not something we strictly enforce, but it is listed in your contract that you have to have it. We don't check, but we are hoping that you do get insurance. There are so many sob stories about exhibitors bumping into other booths and that booth falls down, or a buyer going into your booth, or you really want to be prepared. This is your livelihood. You're a business. It's part of doing business to protect yourself. Um, So, and it's not as much as you would think. In most cases, you can contact your regular homeowners or car rental or car insurance and add this as a specific rider. Most major insurance companies do event specific insurance as well. And we ask that you have liability coverage up to $1 million, which actually just costs you in the range of $100 to $150 or so. So it's very little to pay for the potential loss of a lot more. Effective displays have a lot of things to consider, but one thing that's really important is your merchandising should match what you make. If you make uh, glass, or you make or considering your market, if you have something that's your designs are very sleek and modern, what will that look like color wise? What materials should your display be built out of? Is aluminum and chrome appropriate for a modern look, or bold poppy colors? Or if you make soft, delicate, feminine things, would you want more pastels and softer fabrics? Or these are all things to consider, so that it blends. Because one thing that is really intimidating, but very important to know, is you have just seconds to catch a buyer's attention. If And that's on the floor. We will talk later in our next webinar about pre-show marketing, which brings people to your booth, because the show collectively and our artists collectively bring buyers to the show. That doesn't mean they're going to go to your booth. So pre-show marketing is what drives traffic specifically to you. Um, but your booth, if someone just passes by, it only takes uh, 6 seconds or so to walk 10 or 12 feet. So you have maybe 3 seconds of somebody's attention as they pass by your booth to grab them, visually, not physically. Don't reach out on the aisle and run for people, um, which I've seen happen. So you want to make sure that your display in an instant communicates what you're about, what your business is about, who your customer is. It should be really clear, from a distance too, from across the aisle. You should be able to know, oh, that person makes frilly teapots, or that person makes really cool African American ladies in ceramic, or that anything, and all kinds of stuff. Or this person makes um, sea creatures in glass. Very, very clear. You want things at different levels, for different heights. It's more visually interesting, and you don't know if you have someone in your booth that's 7 feet tall or 5 feet tall. So you want something at different levels. Um, if it's all one level, it just kind of reads as boring. So different levels create interest. We talked about your personal aesthetic and how that should tie in. Some people even have carpets that have logos woven into them. That can be costly, but it stands out. It's something that continues your branding on every surface. How can you use the walls? Uh, One thing is, you need to be aware not to hang things too heavy from the pipe and drape. They do not bear a lot of weight, and it can be a hazard to you and your neighbors. The crossbars are really just intended for hanging signage and very, very lightweight things, like foam core. Um, your display should really be freestanding, whether that is tables that you bring or rent, or even a hard wall exhibit that people will construct or have constructed for them. And we'll go into lighting for a little bit. Now, this is a very, fancy, expensive trade show booth for Kodak. So I'm not expecting you to be to create a wonderful $1 million exhibit like this, but it is an example of clean, bright, low profile lighting. You don't notice the lighting in this booth. You just notice that everything looks beautiful and is easy to see. You can buy lights like this at Home Depot, at Lowe's, at You can rent them. You can um, there's many resources. If you look up trade show lighting, you'll see all kinds of track lighting, but you don't have to go super expensive. Some people even use little clip-on lights and clip it to their table. It just depends on what look you want. But lighting that you don't notice is usually more effective, and just nicer. You want them to see your work, not fancy, expensive lighting fixtures. This is just an example of how lighting creates a mood. You can be dramatic with it, but you also want to be practical. What uh, works with what you're making? So here is a jewelry artist, and her aesthetic is softer and organic-y and natural. And so she has this sagey green color, and she has very clear branding that you see everywhere. Banners that are lightweight and easy to reuse. Fabric that she's used to alter the booth with. You can see just beyond the gray drape that your booth comes with. And we definitely recommend do not rely on just that drape. You should not use it because you'll just disappear. You really need to customize it in some way. And something even as lightweight and simple as this sheer fabric she has, it really personalizes the space. And sort of looks like jewelry chain. So it, kind of communicates what she does as well. A nice touch is the greenery on the table and the apples that ties in that color and that it's natural and lush. And the lighting goes with this. Lighting is very, it creates like a nice warm wash over everything. There's no hot spots. Fabric artists will want to be careful that the lighting they choose, the actual type of bulbs, will not change the color of their work. The lighting in the hall, in the building itself, we reduce down to about 50 or 60% level power because we don't want it to interfere with your work. If it discolors it, then it's harder for you to counteract that with lighting. So the lighting in the hall is fairly dark. And some people are surprised when the show opens. They realize, especially new exhibitors, they realize pretty quickly, oh no, I didn't bring enough lights. So we can't stress enough that doing a dress rehearsal in your house really pays off. In a lot of cases, you will find out that you do need more lighting than you thought you did, and it's good to bring extras anyway in case a bulb blows. You want to be prepared. One important regulation with the electricians union there is your extension cords need to be three-prong grounded plugs. The orange cord on the left is the correct kind, and the flat cord with two on the right is not what you want to use. You will get fined a violation if an electrician goes through and sees that you've used those. Um, and really, the one that concerns them is the one that plugs into the junction box where the electrician is powering to where the electric is coming into your booth. But you know, in long term use, it's better to have the higher grade one anyway. And they come in black. You don't have to have that obnoxious orange everywhere. Um, all of your cords should not be in any path that's walked. So they can only lay around the drape line. Anywhere there's drape on the floor, you can have them running that way, and you can have them running um, along the upper crossbars, or down the bars. You cannot have them where anybody has foot traffic going over, and you cannot tape, even if you tape them down, which you cannot do. The electricians will definitely find you for that. So they can't run under carpet. That's a tripping hazard. So you have to make sure you read the, there's a guidelines sheet that's on our website, and I'll point you to that in a little bit. I believe there's also one in the Hargrove kit too. But pretty much just make sure that if you keep it along where the pipe or the drape is, you're safe. Here is some large format photography. Again, this was printed on a banner. good photography pays off. It really does. This is, you can see from clear across the aisle what she makes. These are her signature pieces. Her brand is on there. Um, her booth number is not, so tisk tisk. She may have it in a different corner of the booth that's not photographed here, but just take scissors and take that little number out and put it on there, because I have seen this happen so many times where they say, oh, buyers were here, but they didn't find me. It's because they didn't put those 3 little numbers or 4 little numbers in their booth. Um, Believe it or not, that makes a big difference. Um, this is a jeweler, so she has lighting in her cases. These are really nice custom cases of hers. Um, but she also has them above for just general wash lighting. Um, I'm not sure if these are her drapes or not, the gray. I think these are hers. It's a deeper gray and a different material than we have. But even if this was the standard gray, she at least is adding punches of color that tie in with her look. A lot of her printed materials, I believe, have this sort of pomegranate red in them too. And banners are great. They're inexpensive. You can roll them up and travel with them very easily. They're lightweight. They don't get crushed like foam core. Um, so banners are the way to go. Make sure your work has pricing on it, and make that wholesale pricing. Once in a while, we catch new exhibitors who don't understand why nobody's writing with them, and it's because their work, it has retail prices on it, and every buyer assumes at a wholesale show that it's far too expensive. It sounds obvious, but it slips by some people. Take the time to price your work, preferably before the show. Um, One thing you'll notice hours before show open is a lot of people sitting on the floor with millions of little scraps of pieces of paper around them and their product, and they're tagging all their work because they didn't do it earlier, and it's very stressful. So if you can do it beforehand, definitely do. Your hang tag can also help sell for you and tie into your branding. An attractive hang tag that says something about you and about how the work is made or how to care for the work. These are this is sort of like a value added thing that you can pitch to buyers so that it does some of the selling for them. And it's also really nice because their sales staff can be reminded of what it is they're talking about with a customer. It says made in Massachusetts or whatever, and then this salesperson says, "Oh yeah, I know this person. They have a farm and they have 2 dogs, and they make their work all in their barn." And it completes that part of that interest of that everything that comes from our show is made by a person who has a story, and that is really what this whole market is about. So buyers love it, customers love it. Um, Make it work for you. Okay, and I will pass things on to Stacy, and she'll talk about a little more about display.